Hello. This morning I want to start with Matthew 19:26. Jesus looked at them and said, "With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible." And I believe that all my life. I really believe with God, all things are possible. And you'd be surprised when you pray, you really get answers. This morning is a good morning. We have already been to the thrift store. And I tell you what, I got me a couple of books. I got my coffee. These are so good. Chicken Soup for the Soul. Now, I've read some of them, and they are good. And I just really like them. So, 101 stories to open the heart and rekindle the spirit. And sometimes we need our spirit rekindled. I don't care who we are, because we're just not perfect. So I got my coffee. Y'all get whatever you got. Join me for a little while. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I was telling James, I said, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. The Lord will help me as I drink my coffee and visit with y'all. But we went to the Methodist thrift store, and I got another book called by Jill Wilkerson, Downsized. And I don't really know what to do next after when everything goes to pot. It's Downsized. He got fired. It's a contemporary novel on not giving up. And we just have to keep trying. And I tell you what, my husband, James, he said, okay, now we moved to this new house, and I'm going to share with y'all how he is, and I love him. But this morning it was time to fix breakfast as we was getting here after we walked, because we went ahead and walked. It's Friday morning, and we always go down to the thrift store. So he said, surprise me this morning for breakfast. He says, how about maybe some biscuits and gravy? I said, nah, I'm not going to fool with that. So I went into the house, and I have a waffle maker that I picked up at a thrift store that I had not used, and I had bought some waffle mix, which he didn't know. So guess what? I made him sausage, and I fried him a couple of eggs over easy, the way he likes them, and cooked him a big old waffle. And the syrup was already ready. I said, I surprised you. He said, you sure did, and I love it. And it was so good. There was enough for me. I made enough for me and him both. But I have bacon. I don't care for sausage, but he likes sausage. So anyway, he came in, and he had a present for me. Oh, and I got some other things down at the thrift store, but they're in the car. He gave me this. Now, I have never seen anything like this. I don't know what it's really used for, but it looks like you could saw wood with it. Can you see that up close? And so I read on it, it says stainless steel made in China. And I know it's going to cut something. I thought, well, if you cut up a chicken, it would probably get through them bones good, or, where you cut the legs. I can do a chicken. I was raised on a farm. I turned my hearing aid off. I hope y'all can hear me okay. Now, I'm going to treat my feet, and I have not watched Hannity, but I think I got my lighting pretty good, and I'm not in front of the TV this morning. It's just where I sit and treat my feet a lot of times. And I've been so busy today, I tell you what, I don't know, you got to do dishes after you cook pancakes and fry eggs and do all that kind of stuff. And I will not leave dirty dishes in my sink. No way, Jose. Somebody said the other day, the way you say heavens to Murgatroyd. So they looked it up. Now I'm supposed to wet this a little, and it makes it stick better. So I'm going to wet these pads, and they do a lot better to stick to your feet. I tell you what, I thank God for this rebuilder. It keeps me on my feet and keeps me walking, because when you're 91 and you get neuropathy, I do not have neuropathy. I do not have diabetes or anything. My health is good, but I do have a feet that has neuropathy, and it's a family thing. There, I got it. Now this runs for 30 minutes, the rebuilder does, and I'm not going to talk that long. I don't think. Anyhow, I got another, this chicken soup book, the one for the soul. I just can't hardly wait to get into it because it has such encouraging stories in it. And I can't read them right now. Leave it alone, Clarine. Oh, yeah, James. Well, I told him this morning, I said, honey, you're worse than a woman to change your mind. Because he encouraged me the other day, and he said, we have a big deck outside his house. And he's been talking about building a roof and having like a porch out there. And I said, that would be wonderful. I would be just happy to have that. And then, don't you know, a couple of days ago, he said, you know, how would you like to have one of those carports that covered the whole thing? We could park the cars under it. I said, that would be a dream. I would love that, and then I wouldn't have to walk in the rain or the snow when I get to the doors and stuff like that. I have a carport here. I don't have to walk in the snow to get in my car when I'm here. So he said, well, I think that's what I'm going to do. I tell you what, he changed his mind again. And I told him, I said, you know, you're worse than a woman to keep changing your mind. I said, now what are you going to do? I think I want to do it like I did before, like I told you before. And I told him, I said, honey, it don't matter. Whatever happens, happens. I don't care. You get to the place, you almost get tired of listening to what he's going to do next, because you know what? He does do things sometimes, but I've been waiting on that for 2 years now. I told him, I said, I'm 91, don't make no difference. I may not be here much longer anyway. Who knows? It's up to the Lord. He could call me home right now. He could call you home right now. I'm prayed up that I love the Lord, and he's my Savior. So if I should disappear for good, you all know where I'm at. In heaven with Jesus, like my mom and my daddy. My daddy told me he died at 48. And he had tuberculosis and sugar diabetes, and the doctor took a lung out because he was in the TB hospital. And if they would take a lung out, this doctor said, then you could go home and not have to be here because you wouldn't have TB anymore. Daddy said, do it. So doctor did it. He took the one lung out that had the TB in it. And Daddy got to go home. And he was glad to go home. But you know, because of his diabetes, the hole that they made to take that lung out never did heal. Mama had to keep it clean, and he was more or less bedridden most of the time. And so he could still drive the truck and go to the grocery store. And Mom, she always give him a list for groceries. She never went to the grocery store. I have never known her to go to the grocery store. Not until she married number 2 husband. And then she learned to go to Kroger. And she loved Kroger. She would take that basket, and they had more money, and she would buy peaches and stuff she never had because she had always done without and made do. You know what making do is, don't you? That's what we did on the farm. When you don't have boots, what do you do when the snow comes down like it did this year here in Indiana? I mean, it was bad. And you don't have boots, what do? You put some of your daddy's socks on over your shoes and tuck your britches inside the socks, and that's your boots when you go to milk the cows. And that's what I had to do. And then when you got to make do, like when you got to go to the field and chop corn, the weeds out of it, which we had to do every year. Daddy would plant the corn, and then we had to keep the weeds and stuff around it. Well, I had a big old sun hat that Daddy got somewhere at an auction, and I wore long sleeves, and my big sun hat keep the sun off my face because I'm fair complected, and I burn instead of tan, and that would make do because we didn't have any other way to. When you don't have any other way to do a lot of things, you'd be surprised what you can get by with. I mean, we never had pajamas, but I tell you what was a fun thing to do. We had a Sears and Roebuck catalog, and we got a new one every year, and sometimes J.C. Penney's, but the Sears and Roebuck was the big one, and it was heavy, and we put it in the toilet. We had a 2-holder. Nobody ever joined me, but if they had, there was another hole there. But I mainly went to look at the catalog and read a book, and I would look at that catalog and dream someday, maybe I could be a model in the Sears and Roebuck catalog. How would I go about that? I think I missed. I didn't get to do that. But I was always a dreamer. Someday, what am I going to do? And I just ended up not doing much of anything. But I've enjoyed it. And another thing, like this morning when I got aggravated at James when he said he had changed his mind about a carport over the whole thing. I said, that was going to make me grumpy because I was absolutely aggravated that you changed your mind again. I said, but really and truly, you're just like a woman changing your mind all the time. So I don't care what you do. I said, we've done without it this long. It don't matter now. It's not the end of the world. A lot of things are not the end of the world. A lot of things that you worry about and get anxious about. Next week, you can't remember it. You're like those people that Elon Musk asked everybody, what did you do last week at work? What did you do? I don't know. I don't remember what I did last week, and I guess they don't either. Of course, if I had a job. Now, when I worked at a factory, when I first got, it was early on, and Buddy was gone, and he went to the Navy, and he was gone off and on. So I got me a job in a factory, and I run an electric screwdriver. Now, I could tell you what I was doing every week. We built television cabinets, and back then, that was like Buddy was working, I was working too. Sometimes my memory gets a little foggy. You'll have to excuse me. But anyway, I was working at I was living at home and riding with Daddy. So he was in the Navy. Excuse me. I didn't like living at home. I finally got me a girlfriend, and we got an apartment together. That was a lot better. But I run that electric screwdriver, and I learned how to get them screws and that electric screwdriver and make those cabinets. And TVs back then were the biggest ones out there, I think, was about 11 inches. And later on, they got one 17 inches, and then they got a 30-inch cabinet, and that was a big TV. When I was in California with the babies, and they weren't born yet, and I was pregnant, and me and my girlfriend, she was pregnant also, and her husband was gone, and my husband was gone, so we spent a lot of time together, me and Nancy. I saw her picture the other day when I was going through my pictures, and Nancy was pregnant, and I was pregnant with the twins. So anyway, I managed to buy me 11-inch television, $30. I remember what I paid for it. And I had it in my apartment, and she didn't have a TV. So we could watch, and there was comedians on, and they were so corny. Some of those TV shows in 1952 were so corny. In 53, well, let's see, I was pregnant with Karen and Kathy in 53, I think, and they were born, I think, in 54. But anyway, we would sit and watch them, but you only had like 2 or 3 stations. We had a line, and then you would put your metal coat hanger on it, on the end of your line, maybe with aluminum Reynolds wrap, and that was your antenna. And we would walk around the living room till we could get a good signal, till the TV, and then we'd sit down and both of us would watch it. You had to get a good signal. That was something, you know. Well, I'm thinking, I have enjoyed life so much, and I still am. enjoying life and make the most of it, because God is so good to us, folks, and we are healthy. And those this morning, anyhow, my house insurance went up a lot this year. I guess everything's went up. When I went to buy milk, it was a gallon a couple of weeks ago, and it was like $2.10, and then it was $2.36. Everything is going up. So my insurance bill for this house where I live now, which I have, it's a duplex, and I have a 2-car garage, it had went up $400. So I told James I'm going to get another couple of more estimates. So I got one this morning. I got a gal on the phone. I think she's going to be looking at me on YouTube because I told her about it. And she was very nice, and I enjoyed talking to her. And so anyhow, she gave me an estimate, and I could only save $150 or so. And we already have our cars, and she said she emailed me later and said she made a mistake. It really could be $200 cheaper. And I thought, nah, she was sweet and everything, but I'll just stay where I'm doing. I just keep on keeping on with the insurance I've had for the last few years. Not due yet anyway. Don't worry about it. Jesus might come. When we was little kids, you know, our churches taught us that the Lord could return any time. The Bible says no man knows the time or the day or the season when Jesus. There will be signs and wonders, and we've had a lot of them. But it says every eye shall behold him, and everybody's going to see him when he comes back. So as little kids, we was always looking. If we saw funny things in the sky, we would say, as little kids, maybe Jesus is coming back now. We was looking forward to it. I remember one year our kids, I sent Karen and Kathy to church camp, and they talked, because the Assemblies of God really talked about that a lot, how Jesus could come back. Be ready, be prayed up, stay prayed up. And I still believe in that. So I took them shopping in one of the shopping stores here for school clothes. And somehow or other, they both got lost from me. Big store. And they were about 10 years old, 11 maybe. And so they said, finally they found me. They said, oh, there's our mom. Oh, we didn't know. We thought maybe Jesus had come and we got left. I said, no, I'm right here. He didn't come. And it scared them. But Jesus is coming back, people, one of these days, in a twinkling of an eye. And you can look that up. We will be changed in the twinkling of an eye, and we will be with him. So I've been talking 18 minutes. Now, I've jumped around here, there, and yonder. But I don't know. I don't have a subject that I want to hang to this morning. But if anybody knows what this knife or saw is for, y'all tell me. I'm not sawing any boards. I don't know if they'll saw meat, cake, cookies. It must be a specialty knife or saw. I don't know. It's different. I like different things, and James knows it. So y'all be good now and walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. And I love you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.